The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Pollard streaks in. Touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a marvelous Monday edition of Talking Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. We are here inside the SWBC Mortgage Studios as the bye week is now in the rearview mirror. The Cowboys get ready to face the Los Angeles Rams in Week 8 of the NFL season. Well rested, right, guys? Right? Because this is a bye week, right? You're supposed to be like chilling.
Supposed to be.
Yeah,
supposed to be relaxing.
not traveling or anything, getting super
planes,
sunburned.
Nah, you don't want to do any of that. But
Nothing like that.
It's a young team, though.
It is a young team. As long as they stay out of the news, as Nate Newton says. That's the number one thing Nate Newton said. I said, what's the key to a successful bye week? He said, stay out of the news.
That's factual.
And so far, that's the case. So that's good for the Dallas Cowboys. We're back here with a shuffled podcast crew on Talking Cowboys. We have Brian Broaddus from Cowboys Break and 105.3 The Fan. We've got Kurt Daniels from Hanging with the Boys and the DC Star magazine. And then we've also got Barry Church,
sir.
former Dallas Cowboy.
Yes, sir.
And he's heard on the Players Lounge special edition pregame and postgame coverage for the Dallas Cowboys. Gentlemen, how we doing? Brian, you're rocking your Rangers shirt.
Yeah, go Rangers.
Yeah, ready to go. Was at the game Friday.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember sporting events in Dallas and growing up in Dallas of just all-time gut wrenchers. I was there for the Dwight Clark catch in the NFC Championship game way back in the day. Tony Romo's drop snap in Seattle in a playoff game was a gut wrencher. Des Bryant's standing right there, catch, no catch. That was a gut wrenching play right there for a really good football
That
team.
was a heartbreak right there.
And then when Altuve hit that, I was literally in the press box, and we all know because we've been in the press box. Our life is in the press box, and you can't cheer. And literally, it was as quiet. I mean, you could see the Astro writers all just kind of, and the Ranger writers were all just like, not again. So it's been a roller coaster ride. But the great thing about this, the Cowboys and the Stars and the Mavs, Rangers, they all support each other.
Yes, they do.
I mean, Dak Prescott was at the game, dressed up. He had his jersey on, ready to go. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of that crossover between the two. But man, I was trying to think of the all-time gut-wrenching DFW sports moments, and a few of them came up Cowboys, which is never a good thing.
I think it starts with the Cowboys, at least in my mind, and being in DFW. But man, the Rangers have had some gut wrenchers too.
That was a great win yesterday. It was a great win to get him to Game 7 to come back. But man, you think about if you find a way to win that game Friday, and then Evaldi pitching today or last night. You have a chance to close those guys out, and that's the beauty of sports right there, though.
You got Game 7 tonight, Max Scherzer on the hill, and man, that's going to be a fun one.
2 strikes twice, so that's that back in 2011.
Yep, 2011.
Oh, that was a good punch.
That hurts. And I'm not a baseball guy by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm not a baseball guy.
You were
at
there
all.
though. You were
I
at
was,
the
but
series.
It was more for the beer, in my but. So
the Miller Lights.
Who is Altuve as far as like a football reference? Like put that in, like, for me, as far as like it's Altuve, like, because all I hear is Altuve this, Altuve.
Pick somebody that you absolutely despise from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, I got you.
And I'll tell you what, if the Rangers are fortunate enough, and again, I got buddies with the Diamondbacks, and the great thing about working with the Cowboys is that there's guys in baseball that are huge Cowboy fans.
Yep.
So the way I trade my information with them about what's going on with the team, and I learn about Major League Baseball. But yeah, just if somehow the Phillies get through the World Series, that is going to be wild if it's the Rangers and the Phillies, because those are two cities that really just don't get along very well.
I want to see if it lines up, but the Cowboys play the Eagles what week? They play the Eagles
after the Rams game,
November 5th. Yeah, so week 9. So during the World Series.
Right.
the Eagles and the Cowboys would play.
We had that one time here. We had the Cardinals. The Cardinals played across the street when they played the Rams. I believe it was the game that DeMarco Murray had 280-something yards rushing. He had some incredible rushing day for the Cowboys.
So congratulations, Tony Pollard. You're going to have a hell of a game in Week 9.
Yeah.
It's the Eagles.
In Philly. All right. I'll take it, though.
Man,
do it.
It would be interesting. Good luck to the Rangers tonight. Of course, you've got our support, and, man, hopefully they can pull that out.
Yeah.
That's an interesting comp, though. I mean, Jose Altuve, a little undersized for his position, but man, he hits with power. He does a lot of things really well. My first thought was Tyreek Hill. I mean, just a complete game changer, clutch player, somebody who's just an unbelievable athlete, and a little bit undersized, a little under the radar until he hit that point in the NFL. Yeah. That was kind of my comp. But I want to try and ask that same question.
I was just thinking on hate, sports hate.
Oh, sports hate. I'm thinking
because
like
Altuve to me,
he's impact from an athletic
huge, but he has a history of things that aren't above board.
Oh yeah.
Whether you believe it or not, but he's got kind of that history. A lot of the Astros do, and New England Patriots, same way with Tom Brady. There's a lot of things that you kind of. Okay, well, you can't do that, but you're trying to do this. And I just think because Altuve has killed the Rangers in the series. Him and Alvarez both have just killed. But again, it's a football show, so we'll do football. I'm sorry.
we got one.
I got 4.5 hours of radio day. Listen to 105.
Go to football.
Yeah.
G from Jersey says Altuve's equivalent for him is Aaron Rodgers. Always get you.
There you go.
Look at that.
That's a
just
good
in the
one.
chest dagger.
That is
G from Jersey's.
All right, Jersey. I've been a part of those Aaron Rodgers daggers, man.
That is.
That hurts. Didn't mean to bring that one up, buddy.
That's a right one.
Not Friday. On Wednesday, we had a chance to really talk about the offense, state of the offense, what this team looked like going into the bye week, and some of the ups and some of the downs. I want to switch the conversation to the defensive side of the football today, starting with the confidence meter. We talked about the overall confidence, then we talked about the offensive unit. Barry, I'll start with you, our resident defender.
Yes, sir.
Where does your confidence level rank right now in the Cowboys defense in the fact that can they still be elite?
It's wavered just a little bit. If we're going all the way back to training camp, and all the reports I've read out there, and those guys were just destroying this offense, I'm in my head thinking, there's got to be a chance to be an historic defense. I mean, you got the pass rush, you got the secondary, the second level, all down pat. If we can just basically muddy up that run that we've had, these past couple years, this defense is going to be historic. Then the first 2 weeks come, you go against New York Giants and the Aaron Rodgers-less Jets, and we didn't know how bad, those teams were going to be at the beginning of the season. So you're off to a historic pace, and I'm like, man, this defense is legit. This is it. Because the New York Giants, they were a playoff team last year, and they were able to destroy them. And even though we didn't go against, Aaron Rodgers, I felt like, man, this defense has it. This team has got the juice. This defense can really roll. And then a couple injuries happened right there, and I didn't think that Diggs injury was going to be as huge as it has been, because if you look at it, man, this secondary back there, if any quarterback has just a sliver of time, just a little bit above average of time back there, they're able to find open receivers out there. And if we go back to last week with the Chargers, Herbert, if he was able to make a couple of those throws, I mean, we may be having a different conversation right there. So to me, I think the injuries have played a big part in it. When you talk about the defense as a whole, that secondary, they're opportunistic, but you can still get them a little bit. And if that pass rush is not elite every single down, they have a chance to give up some big plays out there. So to me, my confidence wavered just a little bit defensively. I still think they're doing big things out there. They're still doing good things as far as a whole, the defensive line winning their one-on-ones, because Parsons is going to get all the attention. He's going to get double team, triple team. And I think guys like Odigizua, I think guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, even though he's not having these sack numbers, I think he's still unbelievable in the run. I think he's still a dominant run defender. So those guys winning their one-on-ones, that's a bright spot. But what also kind of worries me a little bit is that injury with Van Der Esch in the second level. And even though Marquise Bell had a great game against the Chargers, that Chargers offense is more of a finesse offense. And when you're going against guys like the Philadelphia Eagles who can pound it down your throat, if you go against the 49ers once again, even Detroit, Detroit got, mollywopped this past Sunday, but they're a physical offense, and Montgomery's going to come back healthy. So when you're going against teams like that, I still kind of want Van Der Esch in that lineup, and he'll be back eventually, but Marquise Bell, even though he had that great game, it still kind of worries me him on that second level, because I feel like if you can get to him up there by a blocker getting to the second level, they can easily kind of displace him. He's using his speed good. He's using his quickness good. But I don't know if an offense sticks with the ground game each and every down, I think you can wear that defense down. But overall, I started out as a 9, 8. I'm going down to about a 7, 6.5 right now. So it's wavered a little bit, but
still above average.
It's still above average. I still think they can be above average, but just not historically great defense.
What's your next question? Because he hit it all.
Yeah, I was about to say, he kind of went all the way down.
No. He covered it all, and rightfully so. I think that Barry has a really good understanding about what it takes to play really good defense in this league. And I think that the injuries have now weakened this defense.
Yeah.
You're going to miss Van Der Esch. We'll see how the linebacker core plays from that. There were some questions about them going in. Losing Diggs really kills you because playing Bland in the slot and having Diggs on the outside, Gilmore on the other side, I think that you have a pretty good combination there. The pass rush is what it can be, but yeah, I just think the injuries have really hurt this defense to the point where it's a good defense. I don't think it's a great defense, but you got to find a way to make teams very one-dimensional because the strength of it is going to be your pass rush, and you got to get guys home because if you don't get guys home like you saw the other night, there were some plays to be made against this Cowboys secondary. And I think there's the thing with Gilmore, I think that we're seeing some slippage there. And I'm only saying slippage in a way of the skill of his ability to run. And I do worry about teams watching your tape and saying, carry him inside. Let's see if he can chase. Let's see if he can run down guys. And, that's going to be a problem. Bland's done a nice job. Jordan at the nickel, there's some going to be some issues there. He's very much a kind of a 60-40 player, 60 good, 40 bad, and you got to find a way to kind of maybe mask. I think you got to mask a couple of things in the secondary now. The safety play hasn't been great here, and I think that's really those are the things that keep you from being elite.
How do you? Because they're undersized at linebacker. You both talked about the linebacker and Van Der Esch being out. How do you make up for that, mask it, as you said earlier? Because Damone Clark seems like your only true physically linebacker, and you got a bunch of small guys that, like, you get to that second level, you're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in trouble, man.
Well,
so how do you cover that?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the new additions with Evans, with Rashaan Evans, and how does he fit? Michael Jones, Mikel Jones. These are a couple practice squad guys. Do they make a move at the trade deadline? That's coming up October 31st. Yeah. And, so everybody's like, well, who would you go get? Who would you, I don't know. I'm talking to my guys around the league and, they're giving me names and stuff, but like they're guys you go poach off a practice squad. There's nobody out there on the street. Would you trade for somebody? Nobody's really talking about any guys you would trade for. Nobody's putting anybody out there right now. We'll see. They might just address this through what they've done on the practice squad, to try and help. Because Barry makes another great point is, if you put those safeties down in the box, Curse and Bell and those guys, even Wilson, if you get blockers up on them, Barry will tell you again,
that's tough.
You can't. You're fighting 310-pound guys, and you're trying to find the ball, and you're moving. And if you just read it a tick late, they're on you. Yeah. That's the great thing about the Leighton Van Der Eschers and the Sean Lees and any great linebacker, their ability to know formation, ball's going that way, gone. They stay a step ahead. And, you got, like I say, you got Damone Clark who's trying to kind of find his way. And if he's a tick late, they're up on him. Or Bell, they're up on him. Or, Bell made a great play the other night, just reading it and going, attacking the hole. But you're going to need a lot more of that for this defense.
And as a safety, if you're in that box, your first instinct when you see a 300-pound guy coming at you, let me avoid him. Let me get out of the way. And it's tough when you're in that trenches like that. If you avoid and get out of the way, you're just opening up another hole for that running back to cut
right
through.
There,
so it's tough when you got undersized guys like that, man.
So we got a chance to talk to Scott McCurley, the linebackers coach, right before everybody kind of went on the break last week. And one of the things that was asked was, how do you feel like Bell has progressed? Because he was a safety. He was a safety that was brought in, thought, hey, maybe we could throw him in linebacker, and he showed some good things. I think his most recent game against the Chargers, when you go back and you look at the film, it was his best game But that doesn't mean it was a perfect game. There was a lot of stuff where he was out of position. There was one where he was beat on coverage, got completely turned around, and almost looked lost. But then there were other times where he was shooting a gap. He was reading the formation and which way it was going, and he was able to get back behind the line of scrimmage. How tough of a transition is that, though, from safety to really a linebacker role? Because we hear about this safety linebacker hybrid, and there's a hybrid position. But, I mean, there's two distinct roles that Bell is having to kind of come in and fill.
Yeah, it's extremely tough. When you're at a safety, even if you're not a box safety like that, when you're coming down, there's so much you got to read in that box, especially going against a team like the 49ers that show you eye candy left and right. When you're in that box, you're not only, looking at the formation, but you're reading, let me see, if this offensive guard pulls, my gap responsibility goes from, let's just say he pulled from the A gap on the right side, to now you got to do the A gap on the left side. You got to follow these things and track these things. And it's extremely hard to do just on a whim like that. Now, I understand he's had training camp. He's had a couple weeks to get acclimated with it. But we can't expect this guy to be, a Sean Lee out there where he's just, oh, man, bang. It's instinctful like that. He's going to have to grow. And especially being undersized, you're going to have to make those decisions even quicker because you got to beat these offensive linemen to the next hole. You got to be able to beat these guys. And it's just tough at that second level because he's also, not only is he going to have to, shark downhill and get in those gaps, but there's some instances where you got to set the edge. Like if there's a pulling guard coming around and he has to match that guard and pull it 210 going against 310, I mean, you're going to get displaced. And it's going to be hard to move around that guy when you have to set the edge. Like the edge has to be set. So there's some things that he's going to be limited with just because of the size in that second level. And that's the thing that Dan Quinn's going to have to he's going to have to mad scientists and cook something up.
Yeah, the thing about it is when you get a team like, say, the 49ers who don't combo block. They go straight up. They don't. I mean, they trust their guys to win one-on-one. Like a lot of teams, you'll see they'll combo. They'll get hip to hip and they'll push that down lineman to the linebacker and make the linebacker have to run the hump, to get to the play. And then you run in the hump. Well, it's already 4 yards downfield when contact is being made. So to me, it's a lot on that defensive line too, to try and find a way to hold up these guys, because if these tackles and guards know that they could just go straight up field and not have to worry about a down lineman, then those safety linebacker guys are in a lot of hurt.
Well, there's a number of things I think that Bell's going to have to get better at. A. Thomas, whenever he's back and healthy, going to have to get better at. Clark specifically. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge hole left by Leighton Vander Esch. No doubt about it. Huge hole. And those injuries have piled up on the defensive side. But I do want to take our first break. When we come back, can the pass rush still carry this team to victory? Not just the defense and the success in the defense, but can the pass rush be good enough to win you multiple football games down the stretch post-bye week? We'll ask that question. Plus, which one of these injuries is most impactful on this Dallas Cowboys defense, and where do they feel like they can maybe make a move at the trade deadline like Brian brought up a couple moments ago? Couple things on the line, down the line here on Talkin Cowboys. We'll be back right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't stop banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking banking app. Only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time. But what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is also brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Back here with Barry Church, Kurt Daniels, Brian Broaddus, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans, talking through this Cowboys defense. Kurt, when it looked like initially early in the season, and I put this out there on our shows whenever it happened, Trayvon Diggs going down was robbing not only Cowboys fans, but the NFL of a possibly historic defense. That's what it looked like at the time, because they had just gone through those 2 games. They had really been working in the right direction. Felt like, okay, this defense can be special. But even without Trayvon Diggs, they're still going to be really, really good, if maybe even great, but still not as good as what they could have been without Trayvon Diggs in the fold. We just talked a lot about Leighton Vander Esch. With those 2 guys out now, which one's been the most impactful injury, or is there another one that stands out to you based off of Diggs and Leighton Vander Esch and how this defense has to fill the holes?
I think over these next few games, it's going to be Vander Esch. And just because that position is so thin, there's not a lot of experience there. There's not a lot of just linebackers there, like we talked about earlier. And it's not just his physical presence of being there, but and you guys will know better than I do, but it feels like he just kind of keeps that defense in check. Like he settles it down. He's kind of that leader in that way, and that he's able to make sure he's in the right place and this and that. And so I think, I was obviously losing Diggs is a big blow, but I felt like with Bland and maybe Jordan Lewis and some of the young guys, you had enough there. You weren't in dire straits. Now with Vander Esch out, there's enough talent around him, but still I think that's a huge hole there that I wonder. I'm interested to see how they feel.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about with Vander Esch. You're right, Kurt. The position was thin to begin with. Vander Esch really, he does so much. He helps you in the running game. You can put him in coverage. Clark played well the other day against the Chargers. It was nice to see him step up. The New England game was his best game before that. But, man, that injury to Diggs, it just, to me, the one thing that you got to be able to do is you got to be able to cover. And if you could cover, that helps your pass rush. And I think there's been a little bit of some inconsistency with the coverage since Diggs has been out. The pass rush, the pressures, but maybe if you can hold a tick longer in route, or keep a guy from getting up the field on you, that buys Parsons an opportunity, Fowler an opportunity, Lawrence an opportunity, Osa Diggy's buys him an opportunity. I think that Diggs injury is huge, and I think they could play around Vander Esch, but just the coverage aspect, that's what teams are doing now, throwing the football, and they're finding ways to do it on the secondary a little bit.
Yeah, when we talk about these injuries, I think right now, I think Vander Esch is a huge injury right now. But as far as the long picture is concerned, I'm going to have to go with Diggs on this one, because when you think about it, the teams that they're going to have to play, the upper echelon teams or whatever you want to call it, they not only have an offensive line to match your defensive line's pressure, so they're not always going to be hounding the quarterback, but the majority of them have that double option at wide receiver when you talk about explosive players. And before the Diggs injury went down, you had faith in Gilmore and Diggs to be able to match those 2 receivers. So when I'm talking about like Philly, they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith out there. Are you going to leave one of those corners back on an island against, A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, kind of have your safety shading over there? Or are you going to kind of have to play a two-high shell over both of those receivers, but then that leaves you weak in the run? So I think when you had those two corners out there, you were able to do a lot more with this defense, and Dan Quinn was able to be a lot more creative. You also think about the 49ers, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel out there. I mean, Miami coming down the road. You got Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Detroit, Reynolds, St. Brown. These upper echelon teams that you're going to have to play to get to that next level have those double options, and they have the offensive line to kind of match your defensive pass rush. So I think that Diggs injury long term is going to be huge on this defense when you talk about being able to match skill for skill out there and not have to take away something from the defense as far as aggressiveness to kind of match and help out those corners on the outside. So I think over the period of time that Diggs injury is going to be humongous.
I went back and real quick, I'm sorry, Curry, I went back and watched the Browns play the 49ers on tape. I was curious of how they matched up, and Barry was right. What was really interesting, Barry's talking about the too high shell, and what they did though is when Brock Purdy, they started too high, and then when the snap of the ball, they drove a safety in the middle of the field as a robber, and so they went. So what they did was they played man underneath, and they went 4-man rush, but they took advantage of Buford and McKivitz on that right side. Teams, the Browns were good enough to put pressure at tackle and at edge, but the way they did it, they took the 49ers crossing game away with playing man underneath, playing man really all around, and then driving that safety to the middle of the field to take the crosser, and then they had somebody back over the top. So they were covered on every level of the defense, but they were able to get the pressure home. And then they gave Purdy, and Dallas I don't think is equipped to play too deep, not with Curse playing the other safety. And sometimes even Wilson, his eyes get lost. But if you're going to play a too deep and play with a robber in the middle of the field, that might be something going forward that they kind of a little bit of a different look that they give it. That's how the Browns got to the 49ers. They just didn't allow them on these crossing routes, and that's the thing that I'm worried about when it comes to Gilmore. I said it earlier about our team's going to carry him inside and make him chase. Anything vertical, he's fine. Anything across as a chase situation has been a little bit of a struggle.
So is the how do I say that? Like, Diggs is obviously one of the best in the game.
Yeah.
Is Bland that big of a drop off, or is it more of a domino effect because you're kicking out Bland and now your slot is?
That's where I think it is. I think you're weak now at two spots. Well, actually, really weak at one spot because Bland playing slot to me is the best of, you get three guys on the field that can cover.
Yeah,
now all of a sudden you take one of the best defenders off the field and you put Bland on the outside. He's good. I think Bland's even better inside.
I agree.
And so now you're dealing with, and if you believe in Pro Football Focus and all those people that grade these players, the eye test will tell you Bland's had some really nice games and some nice coverage, but man, he's just so much better. I think it kills him because Lewis has his moments, but not like Bland.
No.
And so now you got Diggs, Bland, and Gilmore in the back end covering, and that's the best of everything.
Can you keep Bland inside?
That's the
keep
question.
Two positions strong. And
See,
the third.
That's what I'm saying because they can't. They're not going to play Jordan Lewis outside.
No, but
and if you had somebody else, and not everybody has all these corners. I mean, McQuamu was a guy that we saw last year, late in the year. All of a sudden, they're getting guys off the street to play corner in these games, and all of a sudden, McQuamu's like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to play with these off the street guys. They put McQuamu out there, and they actually played well.
He did.
But I don't know if, man, to me it's a struggle just because I love Jordan Lewis. I just don't know. If that's the all the time thing that I want to go with.
Is there any thoughts on Wright sliding on the outside? He got the length. He's a little longer of a corner.
Coming back from injury, I think they're trying to work him back into the fold. But even if that's the case, is he going to be better on the outside than Bland would be on the outside? Because at least with Bland, you have Jordan Lewis to rely back on in the slot, right?
That's true.
In that nickel position. The one thing I'm looking at whenever it comes to the domino effect, you mentioned the domino effect of Trayvon Diggs' injury, is not only is Bland better suited for the inside in the nickel position, but Gilmore is better suited as a cornerback too now. He's been a corner one his entire career, but they signed him to be a cornerback too. Right. To not face the A.J. Browns, to not face those number one wide receivers. But now he has to again.
Well, they don't but they don't always travel. See, that's what I'm saying.
Fair.
So to me, I don't look at football anymore as a 1 and a 2 corner.
Sure.
I don't. I just think you have to find a way, because the way that teams formation you, and if you're not going to travel, you got to play. They're going to
play against anybody.
Yeah, they're going to find a way to, like, okay, we don't think he's better than this guy. We're going to line him up over here. That's what these teams do. They'll scheme you to a point where all of a sudden, like we've seen guys where they'll bump a guy, they'll bring a guy in motion, bump a guy out, and they'll put a linebacker on Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. And you're like going, wait a minute, he had a corner on him earlier here. Now he's bumped him out because of the motion. And so they'll match you up. If they don't feel like that you can cover, they will find ways. So I don't look at it as a 1 and a 2. Sure. I think both the guys have to be more than suitable.
But you also look at it from a totality standpoint of the secondary and the cornerback room, because if Bland's on the outside, you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
You feel good about what Bland is
doing.
He
might be your best corner.
Maybe. He might be.
I would agree.
And if that's the case, then you put him back inside. Your drop-off from the outside, from Bland, is then either Nashawn Wright, Noah Igbenogany, or somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of what it is. Yep. There's a significant drop-off. Whereas if you take Bland out of the slot, your drop-off is from Bland to Jordan Lewis, which is not nearly as significant of a drop-off. So that's why they're putting him on the outside. That's why they're playing him out there. Because, one, whether or not they travel Gilmore, he's going to face a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver on the boundary.
Yeah.
Bland is going to face a number 1 or number 2 receiver on the boundary. Right. Jordan Lewis has just got to play better. I mean, and I'm not saying he's played poorly, but he hasn't played up to the standard of what a Deron Bland would.
He's there's times when he's been fine. We faced a team. I say we. I shouldn't say we. Have they faced a team that has a dominant slot player?
I would throw Brandon Ayuk in that conversation. Brandon Ayuk's been incredible.
But Ayuk killed him on the outside,
mostly
right?
outside. But he was. I mean, but you had 3 guys there. You had Brandon Ayuk,
I'm interested. I'm interested in watching the Rams this week and seeing what they're going to do with
Nakua or Cooper Kupp.
He's going to be everywhere.
Yeah,
Cooper Kupp's going to be slot, outside, boundary. Doesn't matter. Nakua as well. I mean, that's another really two-headed monster.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how teams tried to match up against them, that way, because those guys have been making. Well, I know that Cooper Kupp's coming back from injury, but that kid from BYU's been special. He really has.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Speaking of rookie impact, when we come back, let's talk about this draft class. Let's talk about some of these rookies, maybe filling these holes of these injuries that we're talking about. Maybe if the draft class would fill those holes, you would feel a lot better about it. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the impact of the rookie class, and we'll give our predictions for the post-bye week season when we come back right after this with more Talkin Cowboys.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys jackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this segment is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Waking up here on a Monday morning following the bye week. Talking Cowboys brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company, Barry Church, Kurt Daniels, and we've got Brian Broaddus. Brian, what time are you going to the ballpark tonight? Or
No, it's in Houston.
Trip down to Houston?
No, I'd love to go. I
thought about it.
No, I did too.
Make that move.
thought about it. I absolutely thought about it. No, but we got a broadcast today. But we've got full coverage on 105.3 The Fan
They
tonight.
won't let you get like an RV and just roll that thing down I-45.
I'll tell you what, I was in the stands the last time for Heartbreak. I mean, like I say, that Altuve took my soul on that one, man. He really did.
I'm ready to get my heart broken again tonight. It's going to be great.
Don't say that. That's not.
Knock
Have
on
confidence.
wood. I actually do have confidence. I think Scherzer's about to go out there and throw an absolute gem.
I hope
It's
so.
gonna be great.
I hope so.
But yeah, let's talk about this rookie class for the Dallas Cowboys, shall we?
Yeah.
We've talked about the offense, talked about the defense, the overarching theme of this team. Now let's run down the draft picks. We'll start with, of course, the first rounder, Mazi Smith. Kurt, when you look at Mazi Smith, has he done enough to reach your expectations through the first 6 games of the year?
Oh, no. I don't think anybody thinks he's reached the expectations that you'd want from a number one pick, just as far as the impact he would have. I'm choosing 2 things. One is that the Cowboys have some depth, so they don't have to rush him. And 2, I'm just hail Will McClay and his staff, and I'm putting my trust that they're obviously one of the best in the league, and that they know what they're doing. I don't know what I have no idea. But they've proven to be gurus at this before, and I'm putting my trust in them.
What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, the thing, if you're one of those guys and gals that watches all 22, and I encourage you, if you can afford to do it and go to NFL.com and get the package, you don't have to be a former scout or a ball player, right? You don't have to be. You could see it with your own eyes. You could just sit there and focus on number 58. Did he have problems getting off the snap initially? Absolutely, he did. Was he late a bunch? Yes, he was. Has he gotten better? He has.
Yes.
He's gotten better at getting off the ball. He's gotten better playing with his hands. His base is better. The numbers don't say all that. But if you really sit down and just say, today I'm going to watch Mazi Smith play football. And, he gets like 15, 18 snaps a game right now. And there's probably 4 or 5 of them you go, okay, little late there, got turned, got knocked out of the hole and all. But then the other 14 or 15, you're like, okay, got off the ball, disruptive, held up the guy, did a good job with Osa. I'm not sitting here and carrying water for the Dallas Cowboys drafting department or the scouting department at all. But I'm going to say this guy is not a bust. He is not. Now, I love Luke Schoonmaker. Luke Schoonmaker was my guy. Luke Schoonmaker is struggling right now. I mean, he's struggling catching the football. He's struggling with some of the point of attack blocking, as does all the tight ends here. So to me, those first 2 picks, and then Overshown gets hurt. We were just talking about it during the break among ourselves of what Overshown's role would have been. So this thing would have looked a lot different if you would have had maybe Overshown in the mix. But don't throw dirt on Mazi Smith right now.
Love it.
Just don't throw dirt on him. And I encourage you, if you can afford to watch the All-22, go get it. And just take a peek and get the end zone part of it and just kind of look, oh, look, there's 58. Boom, watching him play. You'll have a better understanding of what he is.
But as a number one pick,
it's not been
where you'd want him to be.
Yeah, it's not the impact of of some of the other number one picks around the league. It's not. I just looking at names like a Will Anderson and what he's been able to do. I mean, there's plenty of guys in this draft that the first round picks that are playing at a much higher level. I just don't, like I say, I think the position he plays, if he was an under tackle or a 3 technique and not a nose, noses are different than what, those guys that get on the outside shoulder and run up the field and are disruptive and all that. Would I like Mazi to make more tackles behind the line when he gets in there and play a little bit more power? Sure, absolutely I would. But I think that the position he plays limits really the numbers that you're going to see. And, I would like him to be a little bit better in some snaps. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, when we talk about Mazi, was he getting thrown out of the club early? Preseason, all that stuff. Of course, I mean, he was no white tees at all. He was getting tossed around, especially in that Seattle preseason game. But like Brian was saying, I mean, he's shown improvement. I wouldn't call him Taco Charlton just yet. All right, this guy, he's shown improvement, and what people got to realize is he wasn't brought in here to be an Aaron Donald, a guy that's going to just go upfield and disrupt everything, penetration early on. I think what he was brought here to do is pretty much solidify that interior, which means at the point of attack, if you're getting double teamed, stand your ground right there. Don't let that combo block work up to the next level to the linebackers. I think he was brought here to be a space eater. And you love to see him get a little bit better at kind of pushing the offensive line back a little bit more, but he's getting better. I feel like that Chargers game, he was doing a pretty good job of holding the point of attack and shedding here and there, and not letting those guys get up to the next level. And that's why we were able to see a Bell and Clark, kind of go sideline to sideline and do their thing. So he's far from a bust, and he's showing improvement each and every week out there. But to me, I just would have loved to see Overshown out there so far this season. I mean, that guy had so much promise in the preseason, the way he was able to move out there. I just feel like he could have been an unbelievable chess piece for Dan Quinn. But so far this year, when you look at this draft class, I think we've been spoiled a lot, from the past with the Cowboys as far as getting first-round picks and them having this immediate impact. I say just give it a little bit of time for Mazi Smith, and I think you'll see improvement each and every week.
Look at every first-round pick since 2018. Leighton Vander Esch, immediate impact. CeeDee Lamb, immediate impact. Micah Parsons, boom. Tyler Smith, boom. Mazi Smith is the first one since Taco Charlton that has not had it.
We'll see.
Immediate, but we're 6 games in. He can still have a better rookie season.
I think people are seeing maybe what Jalen Carter's doing with Philadelphia with the Eagles. But Jalen Carter on a lot of boards was like the first overall pick. There's a lot of people, when you talk about Jalen Carter, you watch Jalen Carter tape and Mazi Smith tape from Michigan, it was a clear difference. But I think people are kind of expecting that, like, well, look what they got out of their big guy. Why can't our big guy not have 3.5 sacks and stuff like that? But it's kind of a different player. But that's kind of how you view it in the lens. But I encourage people, if you can watch it, go watch it. You'll learn a little bit.
So with that being said, he's shown some improvement. I want to do some second half superlatives, and I know it's not the second half of the schedule, but it's post bye week, so
it's second half. Yeah,
it feels like the second half. Predictions for this: most improved player. Who would you think would be the most improved player on this Cowboys roster? Kurt, I'll start with you.
Well, it's probably the low-hanging fruit, but and this implies that he hasn't been good in some ways, but I think he's just kept progressing. That's Osa. I mean, he's really stepped up his game even more this year. He's been good his first 2 this season. I think you're really seeing him come along now. He's been maybe perhaps because Mazi's in a learning curve here, he's really stepped up and held down a lot of that interior, I think.
He's been awesome. Barry?
I'm gonna have to go. Even though he struggled a little bit early on, had a great game last week. I'm gonna have to go with Bell on this one as far as improvement. You've seen they switched his position from safety to linebacker, and they kind of threw him into the fire. And the first couple weeks, practice, whatever you want to call it, he kind of seemed lost out there a little bit. And as the weeks go on and as he's getting more comfortable at that linebacker position, you see he's starting to make plays, whether it's shooting gaps or covering guys like Austin Eckler. I mean, because he pretty much made Eckler, a non-factor in that game against the Chargers. I mean, he was pretty much on him from a coverage standpoint. So I'm saying he's improving, and I'm seeing a lot from Marquise Bell, and I like what I see so far.
I think Turpin is a guy that I'd like to see him get more involved in some of the offensive snaps. The guy has actually shown the ability. They brought him in motion one time, and he jumped up, and one of the longest runs they had in the game the other day, like I think it was a 7-yard runner, maybe a little bit longer, but he comes in motion and then jumps inside and is able to get a block, and it gets the back, it's like second level through, and then now they're running with a little bit more some space, but when they hand him the ball, throw him the ball, he seems like to me to a guy that he played a lot of football last year because of the USFL. And then he came in and, they were trying to kind of, there was 30 some odd games I think the guy played. It was kind of crazy. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but he seems like a guy that I would try to get more involved in the offense. Him, Cooks, try and get them a little bit more involved in with that burst and that speed and take advantage of it.
I think I would throw Jalen Tolbert into the fold too, just at that wide receiver position. I think more, it's maybe not because he's playing just out of his mind. It's because of where he came from.
Sure.
Came from last year, and he was in a bad place. From a football standpoint, he was in a dark place. With the coaching staff, with the front office, nobody was really happy with Jalen Tolbert. And instead, he's worked his way onto the roster. He's showing a willingness on special teams. I know he's coming off of the weird play against the Chargers. I thought he was just trying to make a play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He got blown up. Yeah. Trust me. And he's filling in for CJ Goodwin in that situation. There are times like that where it didn't go well for Jalen Tolbert, but he's shown a willingness to play on special teams. He's shown ability to make an impact from a offensive standpoint. So I'm going to say most improved Jalen Tolbert. Now, this one's for the first 6 games and the rest of the season. When the season is said and done, Barry Church, who will be the Dallas Cowboys' most valuable player? MVP. Who's the guy?
That'll be the MVP.
So this is more of a prediction as opposed to a review.
If the season goes how I believe it will go, which this team will get to the playoffs and hopefully make a run, I'm saying this MVP it's got to be Prescott. I think it's got to be him. If this team is going to make a run, we understand what this defense brings. It's the strength of this team so far, and I think they'll always give you an opportunity to win ball games. And I think it's going to come down to, can that quarterback make the plays out there? And we saw last week he has the ability. He has the ability to put this team on his shoulders and make plays out there. Off script, on script, he has that ability. It just comes down to the decision making. And if the play's not there, don't compound the issue by trying to force something in there. Throw the check down. Use your legs. And we saw a little bit of that last week. So if this team's going to go where I believe they can, I think Dak Prescott has got to be the MVP.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously Micah Parsons can make a case for it, but, the ball is in Dak's hands every snap, where Micah's not even on the field on some plays. So I think in the end, this team is going to roll how Dak rolls. So
if the ball is in Micah Parsons' hands,
that would be a good thing.
Every snap, he would be
going the other way.
It's got to be Tony Pollard.
Ooh,
okay.
Because this Cowboy running game is non-existent right now.
That's true.
And the second half, they've got to figure it out, whether it's what's going on with the 5 guys. We had Stephen Jones on 105.3 The Fan last Friday. We talked about continuity. We talked about this group, this offensive line, the 5 guys that play together now a couple of weeks. You really didn't have any opportunity to practice this week. So the second half of the season, you're going to have to kind of figure some things out with this offensive line. I know the first 3 games, the Rams, the Eagles, the Giants, and then you get the Commanders, with their inside guys. You've got to figure out ways to block fronts. You got to be able to run the ball to take pressure off Dak Prescott. Yeah. You got to try and be more balanced. I think that's what McCarthy wants to do, but it's going to have to start with it up front. But any time that Tony Pollard has the ball in his hands, it can't be a +2 or +3. It's got to be +4, +5, maybe some bigger runs than that if they're going to have any success.
But is that a Pollard issue, or is that an offensive line issue?
It's an offensive line issue, but they're going to need Pollard, though, if they do figure things out, to be the guy that's going to carry the mail for them in this thing. They're going to have, even throwing him the ball, throwing the screens and stuff, if they can continue to find, I think putting the ball in his hands, maybe, I don't know, Tony Pollard might not be he might be healthy, but I don't know if he's got that burst that he once had. But if this team is going to have offensive success, he has got to have success himself.
I think the run game is where this offense struggles the most right now.
Yep.
And I think if they can get that going, it's going to open things up for Dak Prescott. So I agree with Brian. I really do. I think Tony Pollard is the key to this thing. And the real key is the offensive line.
I was going to say maybe the MVP is the offensive line.
It might, that might be the number one concern. The MVP would have to be Tony Pollard because he's the only one that could maybe make an impact on his own. Right?
They've had some struggles. You always grade offensive linemen, 65 plays. They might if they have 3 bad plays, it's an understanding. If they have 6 bad plays or 7 bad plays, then there's a problem there. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see, if you grade 65 plays, that there's 6 or 7 problems. Tyler Smith in a couple of games has not been as great as he has been in the past. Tyler Biotish is healthy, and he's not been great as much. Zach Martin is really playing on one leg right now. Tyron Smith started off the year really, really well. And Terrence Steele, it just, him and Martin on that right side have just not gotten it going blocking-wise like we've seen in the past. The tight ends have got to be better at the point of attack if they're going to do anything in this running game as well.
Yeah, there's a long way to go, and there's a lot of things to look at with this Cowboys team. But, man, we're going to cover it all the way through. We're back to the normal podcast schedule tomorrow. You can catch Barry Church on Players Lounge, 2 p.m. Central Time. Mm-hmm. Tell me why you should watch Players Lounge.
Because I'm on there.
Okay.
All right. If you want to learn anything about football, just, holler at the Players Lounge.
Quick and easy. I like it. Kurt, you're on Hanging with the Boys. You guys go at 1 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Why should we watch Hanging?
Because Nate and Jesse's on it.
There we go, man.
That's a humble brag.
Yes, indeed.
Humble man. Brian on The Break, 11 a.m. Central Time. Everybody watches The Break, right?
Oh, no, we all like The Break. And I think that Patrick Walker has done a great job with his insight there. Ambar Garcia brings the fire and the passion every week. And Derek kind of moves the thing around like he's Allen Iverson as a point guard. So
I love it.
We have a good show, and I encourage people to stay tuned.
I'm going to start calling DEAI instead. I'm going to call them AI over there. And then, of course, if you're watching the show already, This is Talkin Cowboys. We'll be back, of course, with the normal crew, Nick Harris, Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, starting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. This has been fun, gentlemen.
Yes, it has.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This has been so much fun. Lots of talking ball. That's what our show is all about. We like to talk ball and, of course, break down what this Cowboys team is doing. So should be a whole lot of fun. Long way to go.
Yes,
we're still
indeed.
only in week 8. It's crazy to think we're already there. Anyways, for Chris Beam, for Barry Church, Kurt Daniels, and, of course, Brian Broaddus, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from Talking Cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow on DallasCowboys.com.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!